My family kicked me and my 8-year-old off the vacation I paid for, so I canceled everything and I should have known something was off the moment my sister smiled at me. Not a warm smile. Not the kind that says, I missed you. No, the kind that says, we need something from you. Hey, she said, casually leaning against my kitchen counter, scrolling through her phone like she owned the place. We were thinking of doing a family vacation this summer. I didn't answer right away. I was slicing apples for my son, Ethan, 8 years old, sitting at the table quietly doing his homework. Where? I asked finally. Maldives, she said like it was nothing. I paused. That's expensive. She shrugged. Yeah, but we deserve it, don't we? It's been years since we all went somewhere together. We, funny word. Because we had disappeared from their vocabulary the day my life fell apart. 3 years ago when my husband left, 3 years ago when I had to rebuild everything from scratch, 3 years ago when not one of them showed up, there was no we. So what's the plan? I asked. She finally looked up. Well, she dragged the word out, smiling again. You're doing pretty well now, right? There it was. I leaned back slightly. Say it clearly. She laughed. Oh, come on, don't make it weird. You have savings, you work remotely, you're doing better than all of us. And you could cover it, she said like it was obvious. Just this once. Think of it as bringing the family together. Behind me, Ethan's pencil stopped moving. He was listening, he always listened. I turned slowly. You want me to pay for everyone's vacation? Not want, she corrected. We just thought you'd offer. I almost laughed, almost, but then Ethan looked up at me and quietly asked, Mom, are we going somewhere? And that's when I made my mistake. I smiled. Yeah, buddy, I said softly, we might. It started small, just flights, then hotels. Then, oh, can we upgrade to Ocean View? Then the kids need activities. Then we should do private dinners. Every message came with a smiley face. Every request sounded casual. Every demand felt expected. By the time I finished booking everything, the total sat in front of me like a warning. $27,480. I stared at the number. Not because I couldn't afford it, but because I realized something much worse. They didn't even say thank you, not once. Mom, Ethan said one night, climbing into bed beside me. Are they excited? I looked at him. They should be. He hesitated. Will they be nice this time? That one question hit harder than anything else. I brushed his hair back. They will, I said, but even I didn't believe it. The Maldives was everything it promised to be. Crystal water. Soft white sand, perfect sunsets. And my family exactly the same. They didn't greet me, not properly, just quick nods, half smiles, distractions. Rooms are already assigned, my brother said when I arrived. Oh, I asked. Yeah, he pointed casually. We gave you the smaller villa, hope that's fine. I blinked. The smaller one? Yeah, I mean it's just you and Ethan. I looked around, at the luxury villas, at the ones I paid for, at the one I was allowed to have. Of course, I said calmly. Ethan squeezed my hand. Mom, it's okay, he whispered. No, it wasn't. The third day, that's when it happened. We were at breakfast, a long table, everyone laughing, talking. Enjoying the vacation I paid for. Ethan sat beside me, quietly eating pancakes. My sister leaned over. Hey, she said, we were thinking, here it comes. We want to do a private yacht day tomorrow. I nodded slowly. Okay, it's a bit expensive though, she added. Of course it is. How much? I asked. She smiled. About $5,000. I exhaled. And you want me to? Well, she interrupted. It's kind of awkward having you there anyway. Silence. I didn't understand. Excuse me? She leaned in, lowering her voice. You don't really fit the vibe. The table went quiet, but no one defended me, not my brother, not my parents, no one. And Ethan, she continued, glancing at him, he's a bit quiet. The kids feel weird around him. Ethan froze, fork midair, something inside me snapped. So, she finished, smiling sweetly, we thought maybe you could just skip tomorrow. Relax, you've done enough already. Done enough. I looked around the table, at every single person enjoying what I gave them, and I realized something. I wasn't part of this family. I was their wallet. That night, Ethan sat on the edge of his bed. Silent. Mom, he said finally, did we do something wrong? That was it. That was the moment. Not their words, not their disrespect, not the money, but that question. I walked over, kneeled in front of him and said no. Then I stood up, picked up my phone and opened my email. If they wanted a perfect vacation, they were about to get a reality check. I opened every booking, flights, villas, activities, reservations, and one by one I canceled everything. No warning. No message, no explanation, just silence. And then I booked something else, just for us. The next morning the screaming started. What do you mean canceled? This must be a mistake. Call them back right now. I sat on the edge of my villa bed. Calm, watching the sunrise with Ethan, my phone kept ringing again and again and again. Finally I answered. What did you do? My sister screamed. I smiled. I fixed the vibe. Silence. You kicked us out, I continued. So I removed what didn't belong. You can't do this, she shouted. I looked at Ethan, smiling for the first time in days. I already did, and then I hung up. What they didn't know, what they never even considered was this, the bookings. Non-refundable, the return flights, canceled, the luxury resort fully booked, and the island, very, very expensive without prior reservations. They thought they were living a dream. But overnight, they were stranded in paradise without the paradise. Meanwhile, Ethan and I were already on a seaplane flying somewhere new. Where are we going? He asked. I smiled. Somewhere we're actually wanted. The messages didn't stop. They multiplied. Mom, please pick up. This isn't funny. Brother, you've made your point. Fix this. Sister, you're being dramatic. Call the hotel now. I turned my phone off. Ethan leaned against the airplane window, eyes wide as the ocean stretched endlessly beneath us. Mom, are they okay? I paused, not because I didn't know the answer, but because I didn't want to lie. They'll figure it out, I said. And for the first time in a long time, I meant it. The seaplane landed gently, no chaos, no tension, no judgment, just warmth. Welcome, the host said, smiling directly at Ethan. We've been expecting you. Ethan blinked. Me? Yes, she laughed softly. You especially? I didn't realize how much that mattered until I saw his shoulders relax. This place wasn't louder, it wasn't more luxurious, it wasn't more expensive, but it felt different. Because here we weren't tolerated, we were wanted. I turned my phone on that evening. Hundreds of notifications flooded in. But one message stood out, a voice note from my sister. I hesitated, then pressed play. At first anger. You've ruined everything? Then panic. They're asking for full payment again, do you understand that? Then desperation. We can't afford this, you know we can't. And finally silence, followed by a whisper. Please? I stared at the screen, not because I felt guilty, but because I finally saw the truth clearly. They didn't miss me, they missed what I provided. That night I called back, not out of obligation, but for closure. My mother picked up instantly. Finally, her voice cracked. Why would you do this to your own family? I stayed quiet for a moment, then asked, why would you? Silence. You took everything I gave, I continued. And then told me I didn't belong. That's not what we meant. It is exactly what you meant. I didn't raise my voice, I didn't need to. You didn't just disrespect me, I said. You did it in front of my son. Her breathing changed. He asked me if he did something wrong. That landed, I could hear it. And for the first time, she didn't have a response. 2 days later, photos started appearing online. Not from me, from them. Blurry, frustrated, tired faces. No luxury dinners, no yacht, no smiles, just complaints disguised as updates. Flight issues, hotel misunderstanding, unexpected costs. But people noticed. Because the picture didn't match the story they had told before. Perfect vacation, perfect family, perfect life. Cracks were showing, and for once I didn't fix them. On our last day, Ethan held my hand tighter than usual. Mom, yeah, can we do this again sometime? I smiled. Of course. He looked out at the water, then said something I'll never forget. I like it better when it's just us. That wasn't rejection, that was peace. When we got home, I found one last message. From my sister, not angry this time, not demanding, just different. I didn't realize how far we pushed you. I didn't think about Ethan. I'm sorry. I read it twice. Then I replied, not with anger, not with revenge, but with truth. I hope one day you understand that respect isn't optional. Until then, I'm choosing distance. And that was it. No more arguments, no more explanations. No more trying to earn a place that should have already been mine. Months passed. Life became quieter, simpler, better. No sudden demands, no silent judgments, no emotional debts, just peace. One evening, Ethan ran into the room, excited. Mom, look, he held up a drawing, two people on a beach, smiling, no crowd, no chaos, just us. What's this? I asked. Our vacation, he said proudly. I looked at it carefully, then noticed something. There was a small detail in the corner, a word written in big, uneven letters. Home. And that's when it hit me. They didn't just lose a vacation. They lost access to us, to peace, to the version of me that kept giving without limits. In the truth, that was something no amount of money could ever buy back.